Live, love Africa. What's your excuse for not coming? Please subscribe.
Hello, I'm Dynasty Demir. Foday.
Yeah, man.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, man.
almost a year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I love to get your... By the way, we're in Freetown. We're in Sierra Leone. You guys know how Freetown, Sierra Leone, and Nigeria, those are my homes here on the continent. So, I'm so happy to be back in Freetown. I was supposed to be here in March and then again like in May, but because of COVID, I wasn't able to travel. But I'm here now, and I'll probably be back in January, if not definitely April for the tour. I will be back for the tour that we're doing April 21st to the 30th for Sierra Leone Independence. I'll be here for the tour. But, I love to get your input on what's going on. And
it's a lot going on in Salon, man. There's so much going on, especially with the work that you're doing. People coming back to show the beauty of the country, get back reconnected, get established on the ground. It's a lot of that happening, man. For us, the Government Redemption Mission Sierra Leone, every day we're interacting, we're getting contact from people out there interested in coming and just learning more. And so it's a lot going on from COVID-19 and this impact what it has had on the economy, particularly the agricultural sector. And the impact that it's been having on employment. People have really been struggling here, even though the disease or the sickness hasn't been a epidemic here.
Right.
Economics of it have been devastating.
Right.
And so there's a lot going on, man.
Let me ask you this before that. So in America, a lot of black people are saying we're treated like sixth-class citizens.
Yeah.
Right. We're not treated fairly. We're disrespected. But they'll complain about that. But then when you say, okay, won't you consider Africa? They'll say, you know what? I won't consider Africa because of the lack of infrastructure.
Right.
So it's like people are choosing American Western infrastructure over African humanity.
Absolutely.
And I tell people the story, like when I was in Senegal, I was hungry. And, I love to eat, so I was just hungry. And so, literally, my brother grabbed me by my hand, and we went into somebody's house that we didn't know. And they brought us in and fed us.
Word.
You can't get that in America.
Ever, nowhere.
But, you have decent roads in America. You got Wi-Fi, very fast Wi-Fi. So, it's like black people, they'll admit that they're being abused in America, but they don't want to sacrifice the comforts.
Right.
Or the infrastructure.
Right.
Like, how would you speak on that?
Well, being somebody who has actually come here and been here, and I've seen infrastructural developments take place since I've been here. When I got here, there was several of the big roads that didn't exist. They existed, but they were small. You understand? And that development that took place, it didn't happen fast just because we needed it to happen. Development is a process. And it takes commitment, it takes resources. You understand? And so I think sometimes coming from the West, we look at development like a quick fix. Boom, why don't they just build a road? Boom, 6 months.
Right.
But it doesn't work like that here in Africa. In fact, a lot of people complain and grumble about the influence and the intervention of China, of the same Western powers that colonized us, still here investing in our development.
Right.
And the problem is that for those of us in the West, particularly the United States of America, we are in a position right now in 2020 to make us or break us globally.
Right.
Beyond the U.S. We have to get out of the American isolated complex. We identify too much with the land and the government and the people that have colonized us and enslaved us for centuries.
Right.
And so here in Africa, at the same time while people out there grumble about the infrastructure, our investment in Africa is in the infrastructure.
Right.
Obviously, and our contenders aren't our people here. Our partners are our people here. Our contenders are the foreigners that are coming to take advantage of the fact that we need infrastructure, and we're willing to give anything for it.
Right.
So, on one hand, African people are in a we have our backs to the wall.
Right.
We have to deal with corrupt governance. We have to deal with crippling poverty. We have to deal with the lack of educational facilities. We deal with a lot of those things every day. And when you live here, you actually get to see how it impacts the children, how it impacts the women,
right?
How it impacts the 16-year-old brother who's an adolescent trying to figure out his life, and he don't have a community center.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He don't have a safe place to go every day where he can avoid the drama of the struggle.
Right.
And so people from the outside would interpret that as if it's self-inflicted. But there's a lot of psycho pain, a lot of psychological trauma left behind from the war, from colonialism, from slavery. And so the same things that we suffered out there, that same psychosis of being a dominated, oppressed people,
right? We
have it here too. It's still here. That PTSD is still here.
Right.
And so what I would say to those people out there, like you asked, I would say, give me a break with that.
Right. Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
One, because Africa is our homeland. We were taken away from here. That means we're displaced. And when you get displaced, it's just like when you get adopted.
Okay.
It's just like when you're a child, maybe you know your parents for 5 years, but then something happens.
Right.
And you get separated, you go into the foster care, and you get adopted. Then when you're older, you want to trace back. And not only even for your parents' sake, but you want to know who else is your family.
Right.
Michael Jordan might be your cousin. You don't know because you was adopted.
Right.
You might be a baller, man. You need somebody like a big uncle like that, a big cousin like that, but you don't know because you don't know your lineage.
Right.
So that right there is like us coming back here. Even when you know that I'm a Mende, my ancestor came from Sierra Leone. I'm a Yoruba, my ancestor came from Nigeria.
Right.
What lineage? That's that other level. And in order to reclaim that, you have to come back and reconnect with people that's willing to accept you as that.
Right.
And so that's what you're doing. And that's why I believe some of your perspectives that you put out on your media is challenging to people because they're not seeing what you're seeing.
Right.
They're not eating the food you're eating. They're not shaking the hands of the many different people. And so it's very difficult to just go into the mind of the average, quote unquote, African American and just happen. It's cognitive dissonance. They don't want to hear it. Right now, you have the global reset. Yesterday,
you guys did a show on that.
Yeah, yesterday we did a show on that Exodus show.
Can you unpackage the global reset? Like what?
Absolutely. Well, the global reset is post-COVID world. Before COVID, there were limitations on travel and things like that, but it will never be the same again. And what you see with Operation Warp Speed coming out of the White House right now is that they are already locking down states like Pennsylvania, where once you exit it to enter it, you have to test. So they're already testing at state borders right now. The states are actually creating these checkpoints to check you in and out of states.
I know.
In the United States of
I know
America.
at one time New Jersey was saying that if you leave if you enter New Jersey, you got to go on 14-day quarantine.
Absolutely. And then you're saying getting the citizenship in Africa.
Right.
Citizenship in Africa will be based on what country you go to.
Right.
I believe in Gambia you have to live there 15 years as a permanent resident before you can appeal, and that's right now.
Right.
That comes from a time where we wasn't coming like this. We wasn't coming knocking. We wasn't coming saying, "Hey man, I want me and my kids and my cousin, to come over here. We want to start business." We wasn't coming home like that. Not in mass. Not like what we're seeing our generation do.
Right.
So it's new, and so there's laws on the book that been on there before me and you was even old enough to get our own passports in common.
Right.
So those who are coming with the intentions to be assets to Africa's development in the countries that we reach.
Right.
We have to be able to study and know how to become naturalized citizens in Africa.
Right.
Sierra Leone is unique in that you can come back with your African ancestry results.
Right.
And go through a process which is not clearly defined yet.
Right.
But the government is working on clearly defining this because they understand the need for absorbing us coming home.
Right.
Living in Sierra Leone doesn't mean you live here every day of the year. You can be here 3 months of the year and get everything you need to do in the country done and go back and manage that.
Right.
So living here can be part-time living. And you don't need a citizenship to do that.
Right.
You need a permanent residency to do that. And you go to the immigration to do that here. It doesn't cost much. It depends on what kind of permanent residency you want. If you want a volunteer residency, like if you're coming not to make money, you're coming to volunteer.
Right.
That's one residency. It's cheaper. Then you have the business residency. Now the business residency, it costs more. But with the business residency, you can occupy space, you have a bank account, you're able to do everything as if you are a citizen, but you can't do things like vote. You know, you don't have a citizen's rights.
Right.
But you're a permanent resident. And most of the non-African foreigners that we have here, that actually choose to live here, they dominate the economy. Mm-hmm. They're not citizens, but they dominate the economy.
Right.
And so that shows you that if you want to be able to come home to Sierra Leone in particular, you can take the first baby step and come home as a volunteer or as a business person.
Right.
And get with people like us, the Gullah Redemption Mission Sierra Leone. We have a dynamic team of brothers and sisters who have a skill set that spans from public relations work, administrative work. We have business youth. We have youth among us that have studied business and have graduated from business college. We have elders among us who have been pioneering this diaspora Sierra Leone relationship for decades already.
Right.
And we have other youth. We have youth like Brother Muhammad here, where Muhammad, he turn the camera on, Muhammad, please. Muhammad J. Karoma, he's been a member for Gullah Redemption Mission Sierra Leone since the very beginning. He's a hard worker, but what he does is he's into graphics. He's developing graphic arts. He wants to be a PRO. The man behind the camera will be training him on that. So this is how we make sure that we operate. But the brother has also been key in our Tools and Seeds project and other things. The brother here, his name is Matter Sandy. Matter Sandy is the chairman for the Gullah Redemption Mission Sierra Leone. Another young brother, a business student. He's just completed school, and he's been looking for a job. But of course, we're talking about how the economy is, and so he chose to go with his heart and go with his passion and get down with the mission, so that we can make his skills work for him. You understand? Then we have Brother Sanford here. If you can go this way. Brother Sanford is our vice chair, but Brother Sanford also is one of the directors of our cultural program. Not only is Brother Sanford our marketer here for the goods that we produce, from peanut butter to coal and others, but he also is the head of an independent group of cultural performers here called Taduba. And they represent dancers from all across the country. You see one of their performances, you're going to see a little bit of Foday in there, a little bit of Tindi in there, a little bit of Mende in there in one performance. So you get the whole country when you get Taduba. We've promoted them before on our channels. So this is Brother Sanfa Bengora. And right here is our elder, Brother Abiose Pratt. He functions as our treasurer. He is a high trustee of us. He's been involved in this Gullah and Sierra Leone relationship since the early 2000s. The brother was a part of the Sierra Leone Gullah Kinship Association organization, but he came on board the Gullah Redemption Mission and has been a great asset. So he also is involved with the culture as well, especially with the what you would call uninformal groups, the groups that are genuinely traditional and don't do it for money, don't do it for fame, but do it because it's the culture. So this is Brother Abiose Pratt. And who just entered is Brother Issa Sise. Issa Sise is our treasurer, dynamic brother. He's been a community activist in this country since he's been a youth. And he's our go-to man for the offices. He has a vast network throughout Freetown, really throughout the country. He's also our Community Disaster Management Committee director. He leads several groups in the city that actually fight against the floods, flood mitigation. He's trained thousands of people in this city over the last few years in things like flood mitigation again, canvassing the areas, just managing the disasters properly. And so that's Brother Issa Sise. Behind you over here is our youth secretary, brother named Zachariah Amara. Zachariah Amara is a dope youth. He's always there. He's very hardworking. Played a big role in the African Diaspora Village establishment. Did a lot of the first work. Carried concrete on his head. Brushed the ground. Everything like that. This is our brother right here. He's all the way down with the movement, and he really helps me personally a lot more in my private life because he runs errands. He moves around a lot. He's really a mover and shaker in the city. And last but not least, we have the queen here. Kenya Malinke Mensere, my beautiful wife, and also a repatriate to Sierra Leone of Gullah Geechee ancestry, as well as Mende and Mandinka roots. So this is a queen here. She serves the Gullah Redemption Mission Sierra Leone as our international ambassador. She makes sure that people out there in the world see us, understand what we're doing. She has a background in media, a background in international development, facilitation, and that's who we are. This is some of our executives, but we have others. We operate in a system where we have up to 12 executives, but we have over 300 registered volunteers in the city. We call them OCVs, on-call volunteers. Any area we want to go into and do a Be Clean campaign or do a Twos and Seeds or reach out to the youth or go to the schools, all we have to do is coordinate with our on-call volunteers and do that. So this is the team, this is how we operate. We prioritize not just the Gullah relationship to Sierra Leone, but through the Gullah, we connect with a vast amount of the diaspora. So it's actually broader than that. When we say Gullah, we mean African diaspora in particular, because that's what the Gullah represent in the relationship. And when we say Sierra Leone, we're not just talking about this country. We're representing in broader Africa as a whole, because of course Sierra Leone is part of Africa. So this is one of the movements where we have been developing on the continent as Pan-Africanists, as patriotic Africans who really want to see the country get better, see the continent get better. And so just want to introduce my team and let you see their faces, know their names, get a little bit of their background. Yeah.
All right, where do you see this thing going in America? Like, where do you see it heading?
I see it heading down. I see a nosedive. I've seen it for years. That's why I came in 2013. You know,
how was the reception when you came in? When you told, because when I started traveling to Africa in 2011, people thought I was sick.
Yeah,
like I was crazy. I was nuts.
Yeah.
So somebody saying they're moving in 2013, how was that received?
Well, let me say this: because I had been quote unquote obsessed with Africa, for a long time.
Right.
It wasn't a surprise to people who knew me. It was expected.
Okay.
And for 6 years before I stepped foot in Africa, I supported various struggles in Africa.
Okay.
As a political activist,
right.
Someone who wanted to see the politics change in Africa. If there was a local group like here in Sierra Leone, I partnered with a group here, and we was doing the same kind of developmental programs that I came here and been doing since.
Right.
What happened was that my knowledge was limited as long as I stayed in America.
Right.
And what I was trying to do was gain enough knowledge through experience that people need in order to facilitate repatriation and development in Africa. Mm-hmm. Some would say investment, but the development will require an investment and investors. We complain about the Chinese building the road on the east coast of Freetown.
So what's the argument is against Africa is, look, the Chinese are over here. The Chinese, they're not stay in America. So what would be your response to that? The people like, I'm not even going to consider Africa because of the Chinese. Like, what would you do?
I think that's stupid, because the Chinese don't do that when they move into our communities and set up their Chinese stores. When they set up their businesses, they don't consider that. It's only us that have them stupid conversations with ourselves. You understand? We need to understand that, like the Chinese, if there's a Chinese person who's born in America and raised in America, they're a Chinese person.
Right.
And even if they go back to China and some of the native Chinese people Americanize them,
right.
treat them funny. It's only going to take a matter of time for them to adapt to their culture,
right,
and make friends,
right,
and then adjust. It's not about if you're being accepted or not. It's about if you can adapt or not.
Right.
Can you adapt? Are we accepted in America? Are you staying because you're accepted there? These are the questions.
Right.
We want to know where else we can go because we've been rejected there.
Right.
And we continue to be rejected there. And in Africa, we have opportunities to live a life that we can't imagine in America.
Repeat that again. People got to hear that.
In Africa, we have the capacity, the opportunity to live a life that we cannot even comprehend being able to live in America. There was a time in our culture in America where it felt like home. Like, I can go to your house and your mom feed me. If I got out of line, your mom will hold me and call my mama.
Right.
Africa got that.
Right.
Africa got that communal, traditional, cultural system that everybody has a code that they're trying to honor as they operate. A positive code, a good code. Some people talk about the societies here, and they think it's like a secret cult group, like Illuminati, like this, that. No. People learn how to be men and women through their traditional societies.
Right.
A man learns how to deal with things with his wife before he gets one. As a small boy, you learn how to go about building a house, how to hunt, how to fight war.
Right.
These are things that men need to be prepared for. And it should be a secret because this is a place that has been targeted, invaded, colonized, and now neo-colonized.
Right.
For 5 centuries at least, 6 centuries at least. So when you come back to a place like Sierra Leone, you got to consider all that history. And for us coming from America, this is not America. Everybody don't got microwaves. Everybody don't got lights.
Right.
A very small percentage of the country actually use cell phones. Many of the people in the country are not literate. These are problems, but they can be solved. And if anybody has the obligation to solve them, it is not just the people connected to Sierra Leone in Sierra Leone. If you see us straining and struggling to survive here, and you are proud Sierra Leonean out there, and you're not doing everything you can to empower us here so that when you come home to a safe place that's developed, then you don't need to be asking us any questions.
Right.
That's what I think. And the thing is that before I got here, I began to develop a sense of Sierra Leoneanness. I met Sierra Leoneans in America before I came.
Right. Me too.
I ate jollof rice there.
Right.
I ate cream there. In the house. I ate with my hands in America first.
Right.
You understand? And I had a chance to ask people who were from the grassroots about how I can adjust when I go there. I didn't know what an Okada was, but I came here knowing it because people there was telling me, "Hey man, in Freetown you're gonna need an Okada." I was like, "What business to go into?" They said, "Man, get Okadas. If you get 5 Okadas, you employ 5 Bobo youth. Every day they'll run money back to you.
Right.
Every day you'll get money back to you. So it's simple ways to do business here. Business here is not always formal business like we know it in America. When you go and register something, you open a bank account, you rent a building or you build a building, and then you go through all the managerial administrative stuff that's imposed on us in America.
Right.
It's not like that here. Africa is ripe for innovation and entrepreneurs.
Right.
The laws are lenient enough for us to be creative. But we have to do what we have not been able to do in America here, and that's the challenge. There are restrictions that exist in America because we live under direct white supremacy that don't exist in Africa, even if you're saying the white man there, the Chinese man there. I don't see him. I don't see him until I go to the tourist place.
But that's the argument. The argument is the white man is here, the Chinese man is here. White supremacy is global. You can't avoid it in Africa. I mean, that's the argument.
Brother, let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
The white man is global. The Chinese man is global. The African man is global.
Right.
They're playing global politics and economics. We're playing national, local, tribal politics and economics.
Right.
We're not playing globally yet. We're playing ourselves.
Right.
We're losing because we're being out-organized. That's why we're losing. And the information that we need we don't know how to go about getting it. And with us coming from the diaspora, like I said, citizenship is one aspect.
Right.
It's not everything.
Right.
I think that it's a goal. I look at citizenship like something to acquire through a process. I don't think it's something that you just should get because you come here. If somebody comes to Sierra Leone and they're African from South Africa, they got to go through the same naturalization process that an African from Jamaica or America got to go through. But in Sierra Leone, we have what you call a Negro clause, just like in Liberia.
Okay.
Only 2 countries in Africa with Negro clauses.
Right.
Because these are the places where our ancestors came back and played the pivotal role in founding these modern states. Freetown was literally all of Sierra Leone until 1961. The rest of the country beyond Freetown Peninsula was considered a protected area, whereas the ethnic groups,
right,
they were ruled under their traditional authorities. But in Freetown was a British crown colony. So you literally had 2 societies that existed here and were separated by regions. That right there created 2 different populations of people, 2 different cultures, 2 different ways people talk. You understand?
Right.
And so when you understand that, these are some of the complications that we have coming back. Just as they was oppressing and lynching and destroying us there, they was doing it to the Herero in Namibia.
Right.
Just as we had Nat Turner resisting slavery over there, we had Aomami Samori Touré resisting French and British colonization here.
Hold up. Brother, is it still recording? Because, when it gets to 30 minutes, it's going to cut off. You got to hit the record button again. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, so we have these legacies, and they belong to us all. If African American achieves greatness, all of Africa should take that as their greatness.
Right.
If a African from Sierra Leone achieves greatness, all of the Africans should take pride in that this is our brother or our sister achieving greatness. That sense of African nationality that we see the Chinese have, that we see the Europeans have, that we even see the Arabs have. We have failed to cultivate that for ourselves. We know we need to do it. We have centuries of evidence that we had individuals and even organizations and movements that have told our race what to do and how to operate in this world.
Yeah, but the argument coming from the West is since Africa hasn't reached out and they're not giving us citizenship on arrival, where were they when brothers is getting killed and by the police? That's the argument.
They was over here being killed by police. You don't see NSARS in Nigeria?
Right.
They were over here being killed by police. In Sierra Leone, we've had youth, we had people get killed this year. We've had a prison uprising this year.
Right.
Where people killed in Sierra Leone. We got our own oppression going on over here. How dare they? That's my point. That's my point.
But they're saying the government.
Everybody knows this. The governments are puppets set up. They inherit these government structures and this Westphalian style of democracy and government from the colonizer. It was never something traditional that the Mende developed or the Karenko developed. No, the people here didn't develop that system. We had our own system of statehood here. And where we maintained it, they're now say that's a secret society. So you got to know the difference between African traditional society and modern neo-colonial government structures. The state is one thing, but society is another.
Right.
The people who serve as agents of the state come from society, but they no longer represent society. They represent a society of their own, and their interest is to govern. Their interest is to govern, and in that governance, they facilitate the exploitation and the oppression of the masses of the people instead of serving the people.
Right.
This is why I say when you come back to Africa, don't come back with rosy-colored glasses on.
Right.
Come back sharp. Come back like you're going to Brooklyn, New York.
Right.
Come back like you're going to South Central LA. Come back on point. And you'll see it all. But once you realize that, damn, man, they bamboozled me all my life. Now I've learned that I'm an African. You can't be gullible.
Right.
Because now you got to realize someone, a very powerful enemy, has made it their job to make sure that you didn't figure this out.
Right.
So now you got to be careful with what you develop into. There's got to be another track waiting for you. So all of this re-Africanization, this Sankofa processing, where we acquire new names, where people change their diets, begin to work out, begin to feel good about themselves.
Right.
That's the liberation that we're seeking. That's the pre-liberation. If you don't go through those stages of self-evolution and development, then you're not going to be up to par to be able to play the role that we have a destiny to play in Africa.